So I'm going to be talking about a project that I won the NZIOB Division Award for, which is the Auckland Zoo Southeast Asia Precinct, and then a bit of a spin on that about procurement, how that project was procured and how we procured subcontractors. And then I'll just touch on what we're seeing as NZ Strong in the market with tenders at the moment. Am I too quiet, am I?
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
How do I turn it on? Is it on? Is that it?
It's on.
Probably should have put it in before I turn it on.
Either way.
I haven't used a mic before. Is that better?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, carrying on. All right, so introduction to the SEAT project. So it was an ECI project. We won it on an ECI fee, PNG and margin. It was a 3910 contract, 2013. We started on the ECI late 2017 and transitioned to a fixed price lump sum contract. It was broken into three separable portions: SP1, which was the ECI, SP2, which was the building works, the main works, and SP3, which was just a spare separable portion in case there was full-on work. We ended up having 5 separable portions. The build was divided into 2 because it was done through COVID, and there was a need to hand over part of it before the end of the job. It was the largest project in the zoo's 100-year history. The site was 2 hectares, took up a fifth of the zoo. It was located in the heart of the zoo, so there was no clean access. And the construction duration was 2018 through to 2022. It was supposed to be 2021, but there was a bit of a blip through 2020, which slowed us down a little bit. Client team, so the client was Tāmaki, Auckland Unlimited, Auckland Zoo. Project managers and the cost managers were Becca. The lead architect was Studio Hanson Roberts, so they are an architect based in Seattle in the US. They came across for all the ECI design workshops. They were here in New Zealand once a month, except for 2020, 2021. Local architect to do the building consent and detailing was Ignite Architecture. All the engineering was done by Jacobs, except for fire, which was Crossfire. So the client brief, the Southeast Asia Jungle Track was the biggest project in Auckland's 100-year history. It was the renewals program was funded through Auckland Council's long-term plan, along with the lake wetlands. The track across 1/5 of the zoo features lowlands habitats for tigers and otters, the high canopy primate habitat for orangutan sibangs, and the swamp forest habitat for the sundegarral, which is a crocodile, and a Southeast Asian fish species. The client brief was to deliver the project that is highly immersive, animals, people, and unique to Aotearoa and globally. It's about providing the best care for our animals and bringing animals together to give visitors a deep connection with nature and inspire a love and care for wildlife and each other. So they wanted to push an integrated visitor experience. So old zoos had lots of cages, lots of mesh, lots of people looking down on animals. They wanted to get rid of that. They wanted everybody to be eye to eye. If you've been to the zoo lately, you can get right up to the glass with the tigers and orangutans. So it was successful. Increased capacity, more numbers, more visitors, more revenue. They didn't have very good food service back in the day, so increasing the food service options, increased revenue, which I touched on, and showcase relevant sustainable practices where possible. So was ECI the right procurement model for this project? In short, yes it was. So a bit of a definition of ECI. ECI is suited to large scale, complex or medium to high risk projects because it allows integrated team time to gain an early understanding of the requirements, which facilitates innovation and value for money. Clients should also consider this model if the circumstances were. So the project's risks are difficult to quantify fully and innovative approaches are needed. So we're building a zoo, it's pretty complicated, lots of risks that needed to be understood. The project delivery timeframe was constrained, yes. I suppose through lack of understanding of the time it took to design something. We were brought on in November and there was a goal to start construction in February, but there was only prelim design, there was no structure, the civils was just underway, so we had to overlap design and construction significantly and couldn't have done that without an ECI model. Interested in moving away from transactional towards collaborative model. The zoo were extremely collaborative. It was a massively collaborative environment. It was a great part of the project. Value in participating in collaborative arrangements, drive innovation, definitely cost certainty while demonstrating transparency. Auckland Council job, ratepayers' money, so we had to be extremely transparent. We just did everything open book, makes it nice and easy. We had the way that we tendered for subcontractors was a bit of a mixture. We had design and build contracts, we had ECI contracts, and then we had traditional pricing as well. So where it was traditional, we used sort of a recommendation model where we'd go out and price, we'd provide the full breakdown of pricing to the client with all the different trades, the build-ups, and a bit of a recommendation at the end about why we think the selected subcontractor could be used, whether it's because they were the cheapest or because they were the best. So ECI on the SEEP project, so collaborative design, construction program developed and maintained by NZ Strong. So the program was part of our scope, so we looked after the design program, management of the deliverables for the design team, as well as the construction project. Risk management, so we're heavily involved in the REST ID for the job. Kind of unique to the zoo, we had animal keepers in the risk ID meetings, we had the maintenance team, the facilities management, so there were massive meetings. It was all about not just design risk and build risk, but ongoing maintenance, risk to the animals. It was quite a challenging thing to be a part of. Unique challenges required collaboration, work through solutions. Specialist subcontractors advice sought out as early as practical. Subcontractor suppliers with previous experience and competitive pricing preferred at an early stage. Jacobs Engineering and the client definitely saw the need for collaboration with the subcontractor market because they didn't have the skills, we didn't have the skills to do very specialist things. We come to that now. So for the containment of, say, the orangutans and for the tigers, lots of glass. So the engineers didn't know how to engineer glass. They don't know how to engineer glass normally anyway. But when you've got to engineer glass for a 80-kilo orangutan, oh God, buzzing, or a 120 kg tiger, it can be quite challenging. So bringing the subbies in really early, we brought them in following prelim design so that they could work with us through the develop design phase and provide the insights nice and early. Containment fence design and build, so this was a design and build contract. We used a crowd called Metal Concepts. They were excellent in a world where there wasn't a lot of 3D modelling. They brought a lot of 3D modelling to the forefront, which was great. O-line cladding design and build was part of Metal Concepts package. Canopy climb mock-ups. So at the start of the orangutan project, which was the first job we did, we had to take out about 8,000 cubes of rock, get the climbers in and get the trees in. One of the key drivers for the project was trees in early, because you have to have trees in, because otherwise the orangs can potentially tear them out of the ground. So that was one of the key drivers. So we brought GGE in as sort of an early contractor to help design, help mock up, and help deliver the structure. And they were with us on the journey the whole way through. Another key supplier, contractor, partner was Cook's Bryden. They provided all the information on the ropes because we couldn't just buy standard ropes off the shelves for the high canopy. I don't know if you've been to the zoo, but they're very long, very high. They can't break. We ended up using a ship's type rope. It's called a Metalla rope, 63 millimeters, and it was custom made for the zoo project in Germany by Cook's Bryden in Germany. Steel core, nylon outer, black in colour. It's pretty cool. We actually, before we could get the ropes signed off by the animal care team, we had to get a sample made up in Germany and sent across. While we were building the facility, the orangutans were down in Arana Park in Christchurch on a bit of a holiday. So we sent our sample down there and they strung it up at Arana Park and the orangs got to test it before we could buy them. So that was quite cool. Other early subcontractor involvement, the tiger habitat, the fencing. Nobody had done a fence for tigers at that stage without a roof on it, so we had to do extensive testing on the strength of it, the overhang, testing a fence for impact of a tiger is easier said than done because you can't just throw a tiger at it, that's not what happens. So we built Fabric Structures, were our contractor for that, and Structure Flex built a full-size mock-up in their car park on Rosebank Road, and we got something that looked like a boxing bag full of buckshot at 120 kilos and swung it at 40 kilometres an hour at the fence. Ended up being very uneventful, which was perfect, so it all worked. The design and the planning all worked like a charm. Theming, what we call theming, is essentially the artistic element to all the projects. lots of themed rock, lots of carved rock, lots of painting. The majority of the team were actually set designers. They came off the likes of the Sweet Tooth movie. What else were they working on? Power Rangers, a few other jobs like that. So that was all led by an American, Darren, also from Seattle. Quite hard to price theming. We did actually manage to find 2 contractors, one local and one in the States, and the American, Darren, was preferred because he'd done previous work at the zoo before. Life sciences, so for the Tommy Dome, very service heavy. Again, another challenging thing to procure. Not many people do aquariums of these scales in New Zealand, so we ended up pricing it with a crowd out of Australia. But we went with a local crowd, H2O Engineering, because they had the ability to maintain it and provide an ongoing service. So we went with the local people. ETFE roof, Victor Fortec, amazing outfit. All right, so transition to construction. So we transitioned very quickly. We were only on ECI for 2 months, although saying that we actually were part of the design, or the ECI carried on for about 2 years because we couldn't design, we'd never big enough design team to design this whole thing at once. It's just impossible. So very early on between us and Becca, we split the job into 8 zones and then broke those into 2 halves so we could deliver it in separate portion A and separate portion B. So the first part that we did was we did zone 1, which is the orangutans, over in blue on the side there, and the cafe, because getting food service early was key to the zoo. And zone 5, which is called central circulation, we called it site-wide services, because to provide this new facility, we needed new power, new water, new data, and something called the Code Red system, which is, I won't get into that. So we got into those first. The site-wide services, I say site-wide services, we added a transformer, we relocated the main board for the whole zoo, we added a generator, we introduced a ring main around the entire facility with 4 different water supplies, fire, potable, and 2 different types of irrigation water, because water's key to running these facilities. And we did that all without shutting down the power to the zoo, so there was no days where they couldn't operate. Again, we procured an electrician right at the start, and we ended up just working with them throughout the job. They could prove cost tension as we went, and we found it a lot better and beneficial for everybody just to stay with one contractor throughout. So demolition, we started demolition late 2018. Consent was obviously staged. The first zone 1 orangutans was significantly staged because we started very, very early, and then the rest of the packages that came off were more your traditional building consent with just a structure, substructure, and then a main fit-out facade consent. We continued to split roles, so I was involved in the ECI, as I said, right the way through, almost to the bitter end, because there were a few little add-ons on the side which aren't up there, which we helped with the design and delivery of as well. Pedestrian management was a major part of the project. Let's come over here. There was a causeway next to this bridge, and that was the only way to get to the back half of the zoo. So if we took the causeway out at any point, half the zoo would have been closed and they would have had to reduce ticketing. So they didn't want to do that. So we had to build the new bridge nice and early, move the people onto it, and then we could carry on building everything around it. I got the job of presenting to the director of the zoo every time we had to move pedestrians. So we try not to do that too often. I suppose a little bit about the construction project. Trees were considered part of the main structure, so we worked very closely with their lead horticulturalist on the trees. We actually considered them part of structure, so as soon as the structure was complete in the habitats, we put the structural planting in so that it had plenty of time to grow. We moved one tree within the zoo, we had to lift it with a 120-ton crane right next to it. We all thought it had died for all money. You can kind of see it here. And thankfully, after 12 months of looking very dead, it came back, and now it's one of the main centerpieces in the habitat. Yeah, so the Central Lake, upgrading the water system. The Central Lake was quite dirty at the start of the job, of ongoing. It hadn't really been maintained for a long time. So improving water quality was a huge part of what they wanted to do. So we had added a wetland filter and a sediment trap at the start, so that was all completed with the orang portion. The high canopy, so trying to sling ropes around an operational zoo was a bit of fun. So we had multiple cranes lifting multiple ropes, lots of very early mornings to try and do things before the public got in. We had to work through, it's like all these things you get given a, hey, we'd like to do this, and then the contractor's left to work to try and work out how to do it. The towers that the orangs and siamangs climb up, these sort of vertical tunnels, had to have doors at the top of them, so we had to develop a electric sliding door with metal concepts. And then when we installed them, our specialist engineer couldn't climb up to the top of the towers, so me and Joe, one of my site managers, had to go up and commission electric doors, which we'd never done before, which is always a bit of fun. So it's the orangs. Tapuna Cafe, very traditional building, project within a project, so we tendered this as a full building, put a site manager on it, and delivered it as normal. Okay, Tommy Dome, or the Swamp Forest Dome, we tried to prefabricate as much as we could, try to be efficient as possible on site. Curved precast panels, we found a contractor that was super keen to supply the project. They were based in New Plymouth, so we fabricated everything down in New Plymouth and trucked them all up overnight and then installed them in a day and then tied it all together. The structural steel for the roof, that was developed between Victor Fortec, Mainak Engineering in Pukekohe, and Ignite. Took about 7 months to get the roof right. They wanted to have all the surfaces deloomed so you couldn't see anything, but at the same time it had to have lighting, irrigation, rainwater, all held up there, but nobody wanted to be able to see anything. So, because of COVID and delays, we ended up trying to do the dome works with the Victor Fortec work happening overhead and doing all the aquarium work below. So thankfully we had quite a lot of headroom, so we could just park a crane inside and work underneath as normal. Lots of flood testing to make sure the pools didn't leak. We worked with Markham Global really early on, which they provided all the specifications for the shotcrete work to create the pools. The whole dome's heated through radiators, radiant heat. Local supply did that. So yeah, pretty cool project. Tiger Lowlands was the last job to finish, so where is it down the corner? We've got our full-size mock-up. We swung our boxing bag at it and it didn't move, which is great. Another neat project. All right, okay. Just trying to get to the end now. So wrap up. So ECI, so it was a great solution for this project. I don't think it would have been delivered any other way. We would have still been building it now if we'd gone through the traditional design then build process. Definitely learned a lot about having the right person or contractor for the right job. Quite often in ECI we want to put the best contractor or our best mate on it, but that's not usually the right way to go for the client. It's putting the right, cheap might be best, cheap might not be best. It's about being smart, about selecting the right person. There are things where you can just go lowest price is the best, we understand you, low price, happy with that. Or maybe we should choose somebody that's a little bit more expensive because they've got better maintenance requirements, they've got better track record, they've got better experience. Great teams make great projects. We're still in contact with the entire design team. It's, yeah, they're a pretty cool project. So what are we seeing today? I think we touched on it earlier. We're seeing a significant number in increases in prices from subcontractors. So we're touching on sort of 15, 16 prices for trades, whereas say a year, 18 months ago, we were struggling to get 1 or 2 in some trades. So roofing used to be saying that we'd never get pricing for, now we're getting a dozen prices on everything, every time. So the volume of pricing is making assessing tenders very, very challenging for us. So if subcontractors want their prices to be part of our bid and part of our offer, it needs to be very clear, it needs to be well defined about what they have priced, what they've provided for us, well scoped, programs, methodologies, details. Because when we've got an estimator and a support person, and when you have to put a bid together very, very quickly, it's very hard to assess a tender that's got 2 pages of clarifications and just a price at the top. Same with cost savings. We seem to get those mixed in because people want to offer a low price. They want it to be, look the best, but we have to provide a compliant bid. So if you want to offer, or subcontractors want to offer us cost savings or alternatives, it's awesome, but it needs to be a below the line offer so that we can make it a below the line offer. Less procurement, more, I'm a delivery person. I don't do a heck of a lot of procurement. I do a lot of methodology work and winning work, but when I'm asked if a subcontractor should be used again, we so often get trades coming in and at tender time or at pre-let, yes, we'll do that. Yes, we can do an LOD 350 model. Yes, we can coordinate services. And you sign them up and then they go, why are we doing a 350 model? It seems like a waste of time. It's like, awesome. You said you were going to do that, so you have to do it. There's many reasons that you probably don't understand as to why we need to do it, because failure to coordinate costs us as main contractors money down the road. And talk to us, ring us, so communicate. We do it up the chain, so make sure that subbies are talking to us. Yep, cool. Sweet. Thank you.